Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Finster, who you don't normally see, and random reviews. I'm putting her down. Come here. And random reviews from the Overflow room. Finster sort of likes it down here. See, she likes to run around when I'm doing these things. So I'm not going to whack the gong because it'll scare the daylights out of her, and that's just not polite, is it? Are you on this side now? There she goes. Yes. As you can see, the Overflow room has been moved, and we have many, many, many boxes to unpack. I spend my life doing this, but I'm waiting until my shoulder or elbow. What's that? That's not a shoulder. That's an elbow, right? I don't even know what part it was. Yes, my tennis elbow recovers a little bit, and then we'll be ready to unpack the Overflow room. At least put it in its new quarters. And I'm so excited to see how this fills up and whether I planned right. Because the idea is actually that all of this stuff, the old Overflow room, should get to there, which is the end of this back wall. And then I should have the opposite wall, which is this thing that you're seeing there with the television in the background and gym equipment and all that stuff, of this as expansion space. Now, I'm not sure if that's going to work. I'm really not sure because there were really multiple Overflow rooms. And I know that at least some of that expansion space is going to get filled up with the miscellaneous unalphabetized Overflow stuff. And then, of course, I have these shelves. This is like CD shelves, CD racks, see here, some here. A whole bunch of those, which I'm not sure where I'm going to even put them. But I'll figure that out. And then we'll see where we go with this. Of course, the next room over is all books. And, so many boxes of books, a couple dozen or more, 3 dozen, 4 dozen boxes of books. And I'm already out of shelves there, but I have all my portable shelves, which I brought from Brooklyn. So we'll see how it all turns out. And you will be with me on this journey so that I can, rend my garment and carry on and complain if it doesn't go as planned. Anyway, we're still working our way backwards through the R's. We're finally done with Rossini, which was a joyful jaunt through one of the great composers of the classical era who doesn't get any, doesn't get any, what's the word? Credit, that's the word, as such. But now we have a whole bunch of little R's, smaller R's, and very interesting R's they are, I must say. We have, first, Nikolai Roslavets. Remember him? He's the Russian futurist composer. Very, very interesting composer who wrote some really cool music. He lived from 1881 to 1944 with Marc-André Amelin, piano, yes, and playing this music as well as it absolutely can be. We have just 3 compositions that are teeny tiny little bitlets, 3 etudes, his piano sonata number 1, a prelude, 2 compositions. They're just called that, Piano sonata number 2, 2 poems, 5 preludes, and piano sonata number 5. The sonatas are single movement works, about 10 minutes long, post-scriabin, if you want. And, what a wonderful record. Helen's just great, He's wonderful. And so let me see, where am I going to put this stuff? We'll shove it over here. There we go. It goes down here, actually. And then we've got his Chamber Symphony, which is a remarkable work. I did a whole there's a review of this on ClassicsToday.com. And, people say things like play samples more and all that stuff, and I wish I could because I don't always have copyright clearance. But the truth of the matter is that something like 99% of everything I talk about is on YouTube anyway. Just look it up. You can probably hear as much of it as you want. And then In the Hours of the New Moon with the BBC Scottish Symphony Orchestra under Ilan Volkov. This is really a remarkable disc and quite an extraordinary work. Really, really fascinating. Read the review at ClassicsToday.com if you'd like to know more about it. I think that's the best way to go. Then we have this guy, Antonio Rosetti. Rosetti he lived from 1750 to 1792. In other words, that's very familiar dates, aren't they? They're basically like Mozart's life. He was one of those really good classical composers. He was known for writing pieces that had very characterful woodwind parts. And here we have 2 clarinet concertos and his concerto for 2 horns with the SWR Symphony Orchestra Baden-Baden and Freiburg under Holger Schlüter-Siebeck. Yeah, with Dieter Klucker clarinet, more importantly, and Klaus Wallendorf and Sarah Willis horns on CPO. A very, very interesting composer, worthy of your attention. And he wrote some delicious symphonies, which you can find here on these 3 discs. First, there's this Matthias Bamert London Mozart Players disc on Chandos that says it has premiere recordings of 4 symphonies, which are just delightful, classical, not as good as Haydn, but but who was. And they're really fun. And then we've got these things with Concerto Köln on Teldec. This was 2 discs of them. He was also known as Franz Anton Rösler and František Antonin Rosetti. He was actually, I think he was Czech in real life, or something like that. And they are delicious works. 4 movements, rather somewhat rudimentary formally, but delightfully tuneful and wonderfully orchestrated. They made a sort of a big splash when they first came out. These were recorded in, 1997. And, when the classical music world was exploring, the highways and byways of the repertoire. And it's very, very cool stuff. Absolutely cool stuff. Then we have a historical recording, Arnold Rosé, 1909-1936 recordings. This is very historical. Rosé was Mahler's brother-in-law, let us not forget. He was the principal violin at the Vienna Philharmonic until, the rise of Nazism, basically, and then the family, most of it anyway, fled to London. Not all of it made it. And he was known for being abstemious in his use of vibrato, theoretically. Not as abstemious as the non-vibrato people, who are complete idiots as far as that goes, by the way, would have us believe. And the Vienna Philharmonic didn't necessarily all do what he did either, but he was trained in that German school. He was a very, very famous guy in his life, and these are, I think, they're all the recordings of his that we have, just about. His few solo recordings, example of his quartet and conducting, reveal an artistry which represents a grand musical culture. Many of the rare discs restored came from his family archive. Wow, and this is on Arbiter Records, and which I don't even know if it still exists. And we have, what's on here? Zigeunerweisen by Sarasate, things by Nardini, Chopin, Sarasate, Popper, Cherubini, Bach, the Adagio from his Sonata for Solo Violin, BWV 1001. So a little bit of a Beethoven String Quartet, a little bit of a Mozart String Quartet, the Beethoven Romance in F, the slow movement of the Mendelssohn Violin Concerto, a movement of the Goldmark Violin Concerto, works by Simonetti, a little bit more of a Beethoven String Quartet, Opus 18, number 4, Bach Orchestral Suite number 3, the Air on a G string, and Beethoven, the Ruins of Athens Overture. Oh boy. So, very historical. It's so historical that I can't get over it. So there you go, my friends. Some rather interesting stuff. Not a lot of discs, but their interest more than makes up for their rarity or scarcity. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me, and take care.